take a deep breath, take the higher road. That's what they always say, as if they know the way. They won't take it from me. But don't ever doubt yourself, 'cause life ain't just a dream. You make your own, so kick and scream. The people will act with a never-ending force. You never had the chance, so what you waiting for? The day has come, my friend, 'cause this is war. It's time and this is war.
In a world where women's well-being is paramount but often overlooked, naturopathy emerges as a beacon of holistic healing, offering a unique approach that honors the interconnectedness of mind, body, and spirit. As women navigate the complexities of their health journey, naturopathy provides a nurturing and transformative path toward optimal wellness and vitality. By embracing the principles of natural medicine, individualized care, and prevention, naturopathy empowers women to take control of their health and unlock their innate healing potential. From menstrual irregularities and hormonal imbalances to reproductive health and menopausal transitions, naturopathy offers a comprehensive toolkit of gentle yet effective therapies to address the unique needs of women at every stage of life. By integrating botanical medicine, nutrition, lifestyle modifications, and mind-body practices, naturopathic practitioners work collaboratively with women to restore balance, promote resilience, and foster a deep sense of well-being. In this next hour, we will explore the transformative power of naturopathy in enhancing women's health, celebrating the innate wisdom of the female body, and embracing a holistic approach to healing and thriving. You're listening to Nurses Out Loud on America Out Loud Talk Radio. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. Before we get started today, I do want to encourage our listeners, if you have questions or comments, or perhaps you want to share your own experiences with what you're seeing on the front lines of healthcare, you can now submit those to us by sending them directly to nurses@americaoutloud.com. We will be featuring your questions and comments every Friday on a special Q&A episode with the nurses. We encourage all of you to engage in the battle and find your voice in this fight. But until you are able to do that, we will continue to be that voice for you. Joining me today is naturopathic practitioner, Dr. Ashani Patel. Her journey to naturopathic medicine started when she was in her 20s. She found herself at a crossroads in life where she felt as if she had exhausted all of her health options and was looking for hope to understand her hormones deeper. Each day brought her new surprises, both good and bad, and her body was constantly adapting to these to the best of its ability. However, nothing helped. It wasn't until she started to nourish her body and establish the key foundations of her health. At this point, she realized that naturopathic medicine taught her how to live her life optimally. She believes that with commitment, education, and encouragement, the body can repair itself back to a state of sustainable health and wellness. Dr. Patel utilizes a combination of traditional medicine with evidence-based medicine to help her clients put all the puzzle pieces together and fill in the gaps to determine the root cause of their health concerns. Her goal is to work collaboratively to determine the root cause, create a personalized treatment plan, and prevent disease. Dr. Patel, thank you so much for being here today.
It's such a pleasure being here, Kim, and I'm just so excited for our radio broadcast today.
I know, I'm very excited to have you on, and I love it, the fact that, your pretty much your goal and your mission really mirrors what we're doing with Remnant Healthcare. And I think that, and that's how we connected. We did connect through Remnant, and just your goal, your mission is just the mirror image of what we're trying to do and put out into the world, getting that functional medicine, natural health, root cause approach to health and healing is so, so important. And creating that personalized treatment plan is what we strive to do, because as you know, healthcare is not one size fits all. We are all very unique. What works for one may not work for another. And then, of course, preventing disease, which, I think a lot of traditional medicine is more so, being on defense rather than offense. And we really need to flip the script on that, because traditional medicine is typically more disease management, symptom management, versus getting to the root cause and eradicating it. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Kim. And you know what? And that's why I wanted to collaborate with you as well, because your amazing company, your vision and your mission aligns with my values, right? And we both really just want to provide that education, that knowledge, and just help people feel empowered over their health. And that's what makes the world a better place and what makes people feel healthier too, inside and out.
Exactly. And it's so important too for nurses. Like, as for myself, I was very allopathically trained as a nurse. Many nurses are. So I
Hmm.
think it's important that we have these avenues that we can retrain nurses, if you will. I had to go in, I took courses in functional medicine. I do plan to take courses in naturopathy as well. So I'm very excited, and I think it's so important to be able to give nurses, this other perspective. I knew coming out of COVID, which was very eye-opening to me, having worked the 2.5 to 3 years throughout the pandemic. A lot was revealed to me during that time about how broken the system is.
Hmm.
And I've always noticed, I've been in 28 years, so I've known long before COVID really just kind of really shined a light on what was happening. But I think that, being able to get this information and education to even the nurses is pivotal. It really is. It's so, so important, because as nurses, our role is to educate our
Hmm.
patients, and we can't do that if, we ourselves are not educated or properly informed.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Kim. And it's like what they say, like knowledge is power, right? And with that power, we're able to make such a big difference in the world. And not only nurses, but other healthcare practitioners are on the front line, right? They're
Yep.
interacting with patients. They're really just helping them feel like their best selves. They understand their health history. And the more knowledge they have, the greater impact they can make on their patients' lives. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's so true. And that's why originally had started the company as Remnant Nursing. And then we decided to pivot and rebrand to Remnant Healthcare, because it is about more than nurses. It's about all of these practitioners coming together for best patient outcomes. And we all have to work collaboratively as a team in order to make that happen. So you're 100% correct there. I do want to just to have, if you would you please elaborate for the listeners, was there a pivotal moment? We mentioned in your introduction that in your 20s, that's what led you to explore naturopathic medicine as a path towards understanding your own health, hormones, and everything that was going on with you. But was there a pivotal moment that kind of sent you down that rabbit hole, if you will?
Yeah, no, it's a really great question. So yeah, like throughout my entire life, I've always struggled with hormonal issues. So I've had really bad hormonal acne, I've had irregular periods and period pain, and I was always like digging into things when I was younger, but I didn't know where to dig. And I guess it wasn't until when I actually was researching about naturopathic medicine and I went to the open house of CCNM, which is my postgraduate school where I study naturopathic medicine in Toronto. And it was there when I went into the open house, and everything they were talking about just aligned with me. They were saying things along the lines of determining the root cause, looking at your lifestyle, optimizing your health, preventing disease or worsening of your conditions. And that's when I realized I'm like, okay, these symptoms are a sign that my body is under distress and it's out of balance, and I need to dig deep. So that's when I started to dig into this whole rabbit hole of, okay, like let me research, let me start researching things that could be affecting my hormones, things that could be contributing factors to my acne. And I was gaining so much valuable information just by researching journal articles about my lifestyle. So, things I was eating, the type of physical activity I was doing, what was therapeutic for me, what was not therapeutic, what were some nutrient deficiencies in my blood work that could be explaining some of my symptoms. And then, with all that knowledge, I was implementing things one thing at a time to see what worked and what didn't work. And then over the kind of timeline of 1 year, I treated all my healthcare concerns that I came in with on that day of the open house. So
Um,
I treated my hormonal acne, I got my period regulated, I helped with my chronic headaches. And to really see how digging into this and really determining that root cause just gave me so much answers and clarity and everything I was looking for.
It really does empower you. Like you said earlier, knowledge is power, education is power. And
Mhm.
when unfortunately, and as I alluded to, like a lot of the nurses aren't really educated in a lot of these areas. And neither are the doctors, to be honest with you. It's like they are educated to say, okay, well, this group of symptoms, this
Mhm.
is the pill you prescribe
Yeah,
for that group of symptoms. And it's very unfortunate, but we rely too heavily. I understand that medicine does have a place.
of
I
course.
understand that, but it should never be the first place that we go to. I really think that it should be a last resort, especially when you're dealing with things like depression and
Mhm.
anxiety. There are so many natural approaches that could be taken, but they just jump to that prescription pad every single time, and it's very sad to see what it's doing to society overall. And people are struggling with so many other issues, typically that stem from the use of pharmaceutical drugs.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Kim. I totally agree with you in the sense where there's a time and place for
Yeah.
medications. But I really feel that what my field does and where I can really play that role in collaborative care is just holistically looking at the entire person, right?
Yeah.
We're not just treating their symptoms, but we're really looking at their whole mind body connection. We're looking at how all the organs and the cells they talk to one another, and we're looking at how they're living in their own body. It's like how you said earlier, like every person's health is unique.
Yeah.
And we can't treat people by case by case. We got to treat them as the whole individual that they are. And I totally agree with you. And that's where holistic medicine can really shine. And that's just one thing that I can do as a naturopathic doctor. But there's so many other holistic practitioners out there that can make a very similar and positive difference.
Right. And I think, where we're suffering is this protocol driven healthcare, which is really
Mhm,
sick care, if you ask me. But
mhm.
everything is so protocol driven. I really have become almost, I don't know. I'm just the word protocol itself triggers me after COVID,
Yeah.
after seeing what those protocols did to my patients. They
Mhm.
were harmful to my patients. They, and many times were deadly to my patients.
I'm sorry
You know,
that
it was,
happened.
thank you. It was really difficult to sit there and watch. And that's the thing, is doctors are not your typical Western medicine doctors are not able to think outside the box at all. They're very regimented. They're very by the book, and
Yeah.
they're conditioned that way. They're
Mhm.
very much conditioned that way. And it's unfortunate. We have to look holistically at the patient and see if
Mhm.
they're depressed. Well, what's the reason? Is it just situational depression? Can we get to the root cause and deal with the situation and then go from there? Are there things like going out in nature,
Yeah.
changing your diet? And I
Mhm.
say this all the time. I was an ICU nurse, and it was very depressing, even pre-COVID, to me, that about 85 to 90% of everything that we saw come through the doors of the ICU was preventable with simple lifestyle modifications. And it was very depressing to see kind of, the end of poor choices, the end of people's poor
Yeah.
choices, and really not being able to do anything to reverse that from where I was sitting. And that's what was so frustrating to me.
Yeah.
I do have a question about, so there's naturopathy, and then there's homeopathy, and then there's functional medicine. There's all of these
Yeah.
kind of different holistic modalities. And I feel like somebody like myself, who again, very allopathically trained, or just the general public who may not
Mhm.
have a real good understanding, these are not all the same, right? These are all different
No.
approaches. Can you kind
Yeah,
of
no,
maybe touch on
absolutely.
that?
No, 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 absolutely. So in the like there's many different holistic practitioners out there. And you're right. Like in terms of if I'm comparing naturopathy with homeopathy, so homeopathic medicine is a type of alternative medicine. And naturopathic medicine is also a specific type of alternative medicine that's not conventional care. Even though we can use homeopathy as one of our treatment options, homeopathic practitioners are are very diverse trained into homeopathic medicine. And they involve finding specific remedies that match the person's picture and really stimulate the body's natural healing abilities. And with naturopathic medicine, we definitely take that functional medicine approach of looking at the mind body connection, holistic medicine, the entire body. And homeopathic medicine is just one of the treatment options that we can provide, in addition to many others, such as Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, and even lifestyle changes.
Yeah. I think most people just kind of lump them all together,
Yeah, no,
and they
totally,
they don't
totally.
understand the difference. So yeah, I think it's really important. And I know that we have an educational platform that we are launching with Remnant. And I know that we've talked to you about possibly doing some courses on
Absolutely.
naturopathy. And I'm so excited about that because we really want the different diverse holistic modalities, because again, not no two patients are going to be the same. And what are your thoughts about using homeopathy and naturopathy together? Do you think that there's a place for that, or do you think it's better to kind of separate the two and not use them complementary to one another?
No, I think there is a time to use both of them, at the same time and together in different patient scenarios and cases as well. Homeopathy, I have personally used for a few pediatric complaints as well, which it can be very helpful for. I've used it also for adults, and I've seen it improve their quality of life. In addition to other modalities that I can give as a naturopathic doctor, so I have helped treat pediatric concerns such as colic with homeopathy, and I've even used lifestyle changes, specific like physical movements, supporting gut health with dietary changes. So I think it can be a great addition in working collaboratively with what I do to just help patients feel better. But again, it really just depends on what the patient's goals are and really addressing what they feel, what the root cause is, and also what they feel comfortable with and what's realistic to them.
Right. Yeah. And it's so important to take all of those things into consideration. Again, when you're looking at a patient holistically, and not just as, a number or a disease. I feel like a lot of times we address patients as their disease instead of
Yeah.
as the person that with many dimensions and many different layers that we really have to peel back to figure out what's going on, what's causing this dysfunction. When people start coming in with symptoms, you're right, disease is already set in at that point.
Mhm.
So we really need to get people to start working on preventative health versus okay, now there's something going on. When you start having symptoms, that's your warning sign, but your disease is already present in the body by that time. Not to say that it can't be reversed, but we'd like to
Mhm.
stay ahead of the game, I feel like, in many ways.
I totally agree with you, right? It's like just
Yeah.
taking action ahead of time.
Mm.
And why are we waiting to that point where your body might be under more distress and imbalance? Like, let's help optimize your health now so it doesn't have to get
Mhm.
to that point and you're living healthier and happier.
Yeah. And I really sometimes feel like a little bit of a hypocrite when I say these things, because honestly, I mean, and I say this often as well, that, as nurses, we're not the healthiest. Many nurses are not healthy. We are among the unhealthiest in the population, interestingly enough. And there's
Mhm.
several factors. There's been actual studies that have been done, and several factors go into that. The sleep schedules, and we don't eat right, we're not hydrating appropriately. There's so many different things, the stress levels, all of that kind of culminate and make us probably the most unhealthy population out there. Yet we're always preaching to people about doing all of these things for their health and prioritizing their health. So for me, that's really been a wake up call, and something I want to truly transform myself, my health, my well-being, because I want to be that living, breathing example of what I want to bring to the world. I don't want to
Yeah.
sit there and say, do as I say, not as I do, and sit here and be
Mm.
unhealthy and, preach to others to live their best life when I'm not doing the same.
No, of course. And you know what? Like, and there are days where I don't feel like I'm doing the best either, right? There's days where, again, I forget to drink water or I'm not eating enough protein to support my overall energy. And you know what? On those days, you realize like how important it is to do
Yeah.
these little things and how much of a difference they make on your health. But again, it can be hard. It really can be,
Mhm.
and it's not easy to do. But what I really preach with all of my patients is that take it one step at a time, right? And listen to your body and really just make sure that whatever you're doing is realistic for you. That's really key
Mhm.
when you're trying to optimize your health, is because with something that works for your lifestyle is going to be different from what something works for another person's lifestyle. And you got to find what works for you to help you feel like you have balance again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it really makes a difference. Just the simple dietary changes. And I've made some
Yeah.
recently. And because this is something I struggle with. I struggle with um eating wholesome foods. I struggle with eating whole foods, and real food and cooking and prepping meals for myself because I'm just always on the go. And it's like, okay, well, I'll just either drink espresso all day and, my quad shot espresso all day and grab a granola bar and call it a day. And this isn't sustainable. But it's interesting to me that when I actually take the time to cook real food and prepare real meal and really, really look at what I'm putting into my body, how different I feel and how nourished and satiated I actually feel. So I'm not grazing all day long because I actually prep a meal and I eat it and I feel amazing.
Yeah, and you feel like a difference, like in your body. You might feel more energized, or you might feel like you're able to take on more things during the day.
Yes.
Maybe like you just feel like that boost. It's incredible. It's incredible how little things like that make a huge difference.
Exactly. This small little changes and that over time become very sustainable and become habits for people. And it's really all about doing these types of thing with intention. And I get it. Like it's hard. I'm busy and I am the queen of justifying my unhealthy behaviors. Believe me. So I get it to everybody out there who's listening is like, well, I'd love to do that, but I don't have the time. I get it. We really have to put the work in and the effort. One thing I do want to ask you about naturopathy gets a bad rap a lot,
Mhm.
right? What specific challenges do you get a lot of pushback? I will tell you in the state of Tennessee, where I just moved from and I lived for 20 years, you may know this or you may not know this, but naturopathy is actually illegal in the state of Tennessee. It is
Yeah.
outlawed. So that doesn't surprise me because Tennessee is a very heavily physician MD owned state. You've got
Mhm.
HCA headquartered there. You have Vanderbilt headquartered there. So it's very physician heavy. But naturopathy is completely outlawed in that state. How do you deal with these types of challenges?
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely has been a whirlwind since I started practice a few years ago. But yeah, like I would say, like, for example, with patients coming in through my door, they're like, oh, I heard that it's not really evidence-based and you guys are using like pseudoscience or, like kind of like woo remedies or things like that. And I often find myself in those situations just having to explain naturopathic medicine a lot more. And that's not a bad thing. Like it gives me the opportunity
Yes.
to really explain what I do and what love so much about it. But it's how I really navigate is just really giving the right education around the field and how we really are educated as well. Like a lot of people don't know that we go to medical school for 4 years. A lot of people also don't know that we are constantly using empirical evidence. So we're researching through journal articles to find very effective and safe treatment options. And we really are taking hours of our day to really create the best treatment plan for you guys. When I'm communicating with medical doctors, for example, sometimes it can be great where they're open to talking and collaborating with me. Again, it's a little bit different in Ontario compared to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Um, but I do find there are some medical doctors who are very open to understanding my point of view and collaborating, where I do have other medical doctors who are not as open. And again, I never am forceful, but I just put myself in those situations where I'm like, you know what? I'm seeing your patient and I would love to work with you in optimizing their care. And if they do want to reach out to me, I'm always 100% open to talk and then work together. But I in these kind of situations, I just really make sure that I'm putting myself out there. I'm being respectful, and I'm really just providing as much education as I can around the field, what I do and what my intentions are.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach, and
Yeah.
to not so much be on the defensive and feeling that you have to defend
Mhm.
naturopathy, but just and I take that approach with everything that I do because you really have to meet people where they are on their journey. Like when you start
Yeah.
pushing things on people, I mean, they just shut down. So you really
Mhm.
need to have that more openness. And I love what you're talking about collaborating, with the medical doctors and seeing how you guys can work together to optimize because sometimes it is truly a combination of Western medicine and more traditional,
For sure.
natural options. And I think that there's certainly no harm in that. Um, but before we get where we're going to be taking a break shortly, but before we get to that, I just want to kind of talk a little bit more about, what type of I guess just what influences your treatment strategies and your patient-centered philosophy?
Yeah, are you asking in terms of like what things I take into account in terms of when I'm creating treatment plans for my patients?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, so when I'm really creating treatment plans, like what I really focus on as a naturopathic doctor for all my patients is I allow them to be involved in the entire process. Like I don't want to be that healthcare practitioner who creates a treatment plan. It doesn't even ask them and say, "Hey, is this something that's actually realistic for you to do every day until the next time I see you? Is this something that you feel is easy to implement? Do you feel happy with adding these changes in? Do you feel hopeful about it?" Like I'm asking my patients with every recommendation I'm giving them, how do they feel about it? Right? Because this is their health journey and I'm just a part of their journey to help them feel like their best self, right? So I really advocate having my patients involved. That's number one. And then what else I'm taking into account as well is just their culture and their living environment, their support system. Do they have, as I'm giving them all these lifestyle changes and all these things to incorporate in their treatment plan, I'm like, do you have someone there to help you throughout this process? So, for example, if I'm telling them that, all right, so we agreed on going to the gym downstairs for 15 minutes on Monday and Tuesday. Okay, can your husband watch the kids for 15 minutes in the morning? So making sure that everyone on their team is also on board with the treatment plan as well, because in order to help them feel like they can accomplish all of the goals that we set, they need to make sure that they have the time and the support to do that. So these are some of the key things I do take into account, and also asking them like what worked for them and what didn't work. Because patients that come into my office, they often have already tried doing self prescribing on their own. So
Yeah.
maybe they have done a Google search and being like, okay, like what supplement should I take? Or I had a friend that tried this supplement for their menopause and it worked for them. So I'm going to take it. So I'm really taking into account also on their past history of trying treatment. So what worked, what didn't work, what did they find helpful, what they didn't find helpful, what they like taking, like is supplements easier or is lifestyle changes easier. So this really just allows me to create a very personalized approach. And that's what I really dedicate in my practice is personalization, realistic as
That-
well.
That's amazing. And you mentioned you are based in Ontario. You're in
Yes,
Canada.
yes,
Okay.
I'm right in Toronto.
Awesome. Now, are you able to see clients anywhere, or are you like kind of stuck just seeing patients in your specific area? I'm not sure how that kind of licensure works.
Yeah, no, no,
Or
no, for sure. So
license.
I am registered to practice in Ontario, meaning I can see patients virtually all over Ontario and in person as well. But my clinics are located in Toronto. So most often people are in like the greater Toronto area or in Toronto who are coming in person to see me. But I do have patients in like Northern Ontario who I see on video as well. So as long as they're in Ontario, I can see them.
Okay. So you're not able to see clients in the US
Unfortunately,
at this
no.
point. Well, we'll need to talk about having you come on board with Remnant because you know the PMA is a
Yeah,
completely different structure. So
100%.
that is a completely different structure. So we'll have to talk more about that because you're amazing. I mean, I've talked to you at great length a couple of times now, and I'm just amazed by your dedication and your passion. And we want to get your your abilities to heal people to as many people
Mhm.
as possible, whether that be through education, consultation, however.
Yeah.
We definitely want to expand you back past Ontario, but I mean, certainly Ontario is a very lucky region to have you there.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So we're gonna be taking a break here in a minute. When we come back, I do want to touch on some really specific issues that women face, and what your thoughts are, and on these particular issues.
Love it. Mhm.
America Out Loud Talk Radio plays on the iHeartRadio network. You can also listen on our media player from any web browser anywhere in the world. We have the best in class apps available on Apple, Android, or Alexa 24/7. Great Talk Radio. All of our shows go to podcast the following day. You can hear them on apps such as Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeart Podcasts, and many more. Be sure to subscribe and rate the show on Apple Podcasts for me. Don't forget to check out our online store at americaoutloud.shop, where you can find all of the products that we represent on our network at a discounted rate. I'll catch you on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
It's time and this is what
86 million of us suffer from the silent killer, high cholesterol. Left unattended, we are at risk for heart attacks and strokes. Meet HealRight, the ready-to-eat bar that lowers cholesterol naturally in just 8 weeks without the side effects of statins. Go to healright.com/outloud and use code OUTLOUD for 20% off your first order.
Trouble concentrating or recalling information is frustrating, embarrassing, and kills productivity. Nutrition company Healthy Cell created Focus and Recall to boost your brain power. And unlike other supplements that don't work, Focus and Recall is not a pill. It's a gel you swallow with ultra absorption of science-backed ingredients to help you immediately sharpen focus and strengthen recall. Go to healthycell.com and use limited time code OUTLOUD for 25% off your first order. Risk-free. Love it or your money back. Guaranteed. Healthycell.com. Code OUTLOUD.
World-class care from doctors you can trust, all from the comfort of your home. That is One Wellness. Dr. Peter McCullough and his team at The Wellness Company launched the One Wellness membership to provide free monthly supplements and unlimited telemedicine access with doctors that share your values. Be a part of a revolutionary new healthcare system that puts your health and well-being above the interests of Big Pharma's bottom line. It's the way healthcare should be. Go to OutLoudCare.com today and use code OUTLOUD for 25% off your first month of One Wellness.
it's time and this is what
Welcome back to Nurses Out Loud on America Out Loud Talk Radio. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. Wherever you're listening from today and whatever you're doing, I thank you for giving me the gift of your time. Be sure to make AmericaOutloud.news your daily stop for all the latest news and happenings. We all must do our part and share the stories, the articles, the podcasts, and videos so we can help secure America's future. If you're just joining us, I've been talking with naturopathic practitioner, Dr. Ashani Patel. Let's jump right back in. Dr. Patel, thanks again for being here.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, Kim. And I love our conversation so far that we have already taken a deep dive in.
Yeah, I spent the first half of the show, like I was saying, I really wanted to learn more about your background, what motivated you to get into this area of medicine, when so many people kind of go that more traditional route, and like really wanted to talk about some of the strategies you take with the clients that you see. But as I kind of alluded to in the beginning of the show, there are definitely some specific topics that really affect women in particular, and I would love to kind of touch on a few of those.
Mhm.
My favorite topic of late, because I am right in the thick of it, is menopause, right? And my listeners all know this about me, so it's not a TMI thing. My listeners know that I am just embroiled in this menopause journey. And I will say, I don't really even know, like, I don't go to doctors anymore. These last 3 years, I'm just kind of done with traditional Western medicine. So I'm trying to find ways to manage menopause. Hormones, I don't know. I was prescribed bioidentical hormones, progesterone and estrogen, and I used them for about a day and a half. I got such an incredible headache, and it knocked me down for 3 days, and then I never tried it again. But I'm suffering. I will say I am suffering. I've gained 30 pounds. I'm dealing with the fatigue, the bloating, the brain fog, just all of it. And I'm sure that there are women out there that are going through the same things, and they just don't know what is the first step. Maybe they're not comfortable with taking hormones. What is your take? First of all, I'd like to hear your take on hormones, bioidentical hormones for treatment and regulation. And then what are some other more natural approaches that women can take to kind of combat these issues?
Yeah, no, it's a great question too. Like, I love supporting perimenopause and menopausal patients in my practice. Like, it is every woman's journey is different, and that's what makes it really special. But also because it's such a beautiful transition in a woman's life. But you're right, it can affect the quality of life. And I'm sorry that you're experiencing really strong symptoms that can be affecting your quality of life too. But during this stage, it's all about really finding what's working the best for you. So in terms of the bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, yeah, there is a lot of great benefits to using it. But really, when you're trying to determine if it's a great option for you, it's really important to assess what your goals are, what are the symptoms that you want to reduce. Consider if you ever had a hysterectomy, consider your family history as well. So if there's any history of breast cancer, ovarian cancer as well, and really see if it's a good option for you. And the research even shows that it's best to take it like within the 10 years of starting menopause, and it's not so much the best option to do after 10 years of the onset of menopause. So, just some things to take in mind. But yes, it definitely can help make a really big difference. Like I have seen it make a really big difference on my patients with hot flashes and night sweats as well, improving their energy, joint pain. So, it definitely can be a great option to consider. In terms of natural approaches, there are many different types of natural remedies that have been shown to help improve menopausal symptoms. So, like one, for example, I can talk hours about is diet. So, yeah, there's a lot of great research just with the decline in estrogen that naturally happens with menopause, adding in more nutrient dense foods, protein to support your bone health and your cardiovascular health, which is really important post menopause. Great antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, because they really help support that hormone health, your metabolic regulation, your cardiovascular health. Adding in soy protein can be even really beneficial because they mimic your intake of phytoestrogens as well. So adding in like flax seeds and soy protein can be really awesome. Addressing your mental health is a huge component too, right? Because when you are more stressed or anxious or depressed, for example, that can intensify some of the symptoms that you're experiencing in menopause as well. So where I really start off with my patients is implementing like mindfulness strategies, right? But again, there's so many out there, right? There's deep breathing, then there's yoga, and then there is gratitude journaling, and there's self-care. So it's really about finding the one or two strategies that work the best for you and just sticking with it. Exercise is also really important too, just because with the decline in estrogen, it affects your muscle mass, your muscle density, and that's why postmenopausal patients are at a greater risk to have more fractures or even osteoporosis. So it's really important to again implement like regular exercise with weightlifting and even resistance band exercises as well a few times a week to just support your heart health, your hormonal health, and your metabolic health. But in terms of like other nutraceuticals and supplements, there is a lot of great research around chaste tree, that is a hormone balancing herb that can actually help improve the intensity of some of your symptoms. Black cohosh, which is a herb with estrogenic benefits as well. There's also really great benefits with certain adaptogens, and adaptogens are basically herbs that help increase your resilience to stress and adapt to stress. So, rhodiola and ginseng are really great options. So, there are a lot of different treatment options out there. It's again, it's all really just comes down to what you're trying to address and what's really the best fit for you, knowing your past medical history, your current medical history, and your health goals.
Oh, trust me when I tell you, I am sitting here taking notes. Like you would not believe, I'm writing all of these things down because I do definitely need to find some kind of balance. And you're right, there are all of these different options, and it is a lot about finding what works for you and working it into your schedule and kind of making those adaptations. I am doing the infrared, like a sauna, the to
Nice. Yeah.
detox, which I think that's part of my little, self-care journey routine. We all have to find I wish I had like a Finlandia sauna here. But anyway, we're not quite there yet on my journey. But maybe
Oh
one
my God, I
day.
love that though. It's like it's your self-care. So as long as it makes you feel good, that's all that's important.
Exactly. So yeah, I appreciate your insights on that for sure. But there are so many issues that affect women specifically. As women, we definitely, like I said in the beginning, we're oftentimes overlooked, right?
Mhm.
Like when we think about cardiac health and women who have heart attacks and have such a less chance of survival because our heart attack symptoms present differently than that of male. So it's overlooked quite often. But if you want to touch on some of that, like the ways in which women's health is kind of put on the back burner.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm a living example of that, right? Like when I was growing up, I just felt like my needs just weren't being fully addressed by healthcare practitioners,
Yeah.
and it was unfortunate, right? And it wasn't just me. I saw my family friends who have autoimmune conditions, who have chronic conditions such as diabetes and hypertension, hypothyroidism, and I saw that these women in my family who were just not getting the answers that they wanted compared to males in the family who had very similar health concerns. And that's what really got me into the field in the first place, is that women deserve equal quality healthcare, and why are they not getting it? Right? Is it and I healthcare has come along so much in a lot of positive aspects, but there is a lot of things that we still need to change about the healthcare system. And I think addressing these other populations, such as women, but also other minority groups, is what's really important right now. And I think, I'm not sure how it is in the States, but here in Canada at least, and even in Ontario, there's a lot more women empowerment. And I think there is a really strong movement going around with women empowerment and really supporting women's health concerns. But how I really navigate around it is just really providing that education online, and I really provide even education. So for example, I'm doing free webinars and free workshops for women's health, giving them the education that they might not be getting from their healthcare providers, because because I would never want a woman to feel that their needs are not getting addressed or their questions are not getting answered, because we live in amazing countries. We're living in North America, and we all deserve a right to live
Yeah.
our healthy lives. So I really just try to do as much as I can in my field in providing free education as much as possible, and really just collaborating with women around the communities. So I host my own networking sessions. I have personal and professional relationships with a lot of women in my area. And I make myself available as well. So I give my personal information, I give my email, because if they have any questions, you can ask me. That is totally okay. Like, I want to be that person for you. And if my answers to maybe one or two questions makes a difference for you, I'm going to feel so happy and grateful.
That's amazing. And I'll tell you, I think as women, a lot of times we do this to ourselves too, right? We actually put
Mhm,
ourselves on the back burner because as
mhm.
wives, as mothers, as we're always looking out for everyone else. And we just have that tendency to put ourselves last in a lot of situations. So we have to take some accountability for that too, and really have to start prioritizing our own needs. And we cannot pour from an empty cup. And I say that all the time. And same thing with nurses. We try to care so much for others, and we're very naturally empathetic. But we've got to be able to prioritize our own health and our own needs, because we cannot take care of others if we're not fully nourished and taking care in every way, mind, body, spirit, if we are not taking care of ourselves.
Yeah, Kim, and that reminds me of an analogy that I use in my practice so much with all of the moms and the women that I see in my practice, is that women are the soil,
Yes.
right? You're the soil that nourish your entire family, and your family are the branches. They're the branches, they're the roots, they're the trunk, they're the leaves. And if the soil is not getting nourished with the water and the sunlight and the food that it needs to thrive, the tree is not going to be able to grow, right? And you're completely right. Women put themselves on the back burner, right? They work so hard and they care so much and they love with all their heart, which makes us so special as women. But in order to help your families thrive and be healthy and help you feel like you're helping the people around you, you got to feel great too. And I feel like when I really preach that in my practice, women just feel validated, and they feel like they're able to take that first step on their health journey when someone's on their side.
That's an amazing analogy. Absolutely love. I love that. I love
Mhm.
that. And it's so true. It's 100% true. And women are the soil that really does. If we're not nourished, we cannot nourish and grow our families the way that we want to. So it's so important for women to take that step and lead by example, and by starting to live their healthiest life as well. So some of the other issues, and one of the big ones for me, digestive issues, like all roads lead to the gut. We know
Yeah.
all roads lead to the gut. All disease starts there. So if you would touch a little bit on specifically to women, the types of digestive issues that women are dealing with and how to resolve those.
Yeah, no, gut health is massive. It is huge. It's like how they say, right? The gut is the second brain, right, of the body, because our gut talks to every single system and many different cells of the body. So it's so important to nourish. In terms of women's health, like they even show that there's a lot more research of digestive conditions in women. So IBS, for example, is really common to see in women compared to males. And there is a lot of research that maybe these are due to hormonal changes, right, with one's menstrual cycle. It also maybe is correlated to like mental health concerns, right? There is a greater degree of mental health concerns is in women, especially now as well. So it really just kind of emphasizes that mind gut connection that is really getting emphasized in the research today, and nervous system regulation, hormonal health, and metabolic health, which tends to play a bigger factor in women compared to men. And yeah, with my approach with gut health is actually one of the biggest and one of the first places I look with a lot of my health concerns, because with all the research that I've been doing, the gut is kind of linked to every condition, to be honest, where I have been doing the research. It's linked to neuroendocrine conditions, to psychological, to psychiatric, to the list goes on. And it really just the cornerstone of everything about health. Now, when I'm supporting gut health, it really depends on the individual cause, right? So if the cause is due to IBS, is it due to IBD? Is it due to SIBO? Maybe some bacterial overgrowth? Or is it due to underlying inflammation in the intestinal lining? So the specific treatment options I would give depend on the cause, but generally I focus on the pillars of health, right? Like lifestyle is a really big factor when we think about gut health. So, dietary wise, really looking at the foods that you're eating. So, are you eating enough fiber? And that includes soluble fiber and insoluble fiber as well. Making sure that overall your plates are very balanced at every meal. Making sure you have enough intake of those healthy fats to decrease inflammation. You have enough proteins to support your neurotransmitters and your hormones, which all are correlated to your gut health. And also, as I mentioned, having adequate fiber as well to just promote regular bowel movements and just help make sure that your gut is not as inflamed and is just helping it stay regular. Then we even look at physical activity. There is so much research around how physical activity supports the growth of an optimal microbiome. It decreases inflammation in the intestinal lining. It also supports the production of short chain fatty acids, which are very beneficial for gut health as well. And then we even look into stress, right, with the mind gut connection, how having chronic stress and chronic anxiety, it disrupts your HPA axis dysregulation, which can affect more inflammation in your gut. It can affect microbiome dysbiosis. It can cause more inflammation. And all of this can play a factor in your gut health as well. And then even your sleep, right? Your sleep is where you heal. And if you do have underlying inflammation, that is where it really can be beneficial with your gut health, because sleep is where your body is restoring and really eliminating all the damage that could be in your tissues and your cells that could have happened over the day. In terms of other treatment options, like I have used acupuncture in my practice to even support gut health, which has been amazing for my patients. But I've even used like personalized supplementation and nutraceuticals as well. So there is a lot of great benefits on even magnesium to help support regular bowel movements and even be really indicative in cases of chronic stress and anxiety where people lose more magnesium. So you need to replenish that in the body. Even with zinc, it helps support the intestinal lining. L-glutamine is getting a lot of rave nowadays on TikTok and social media, because it really helps heal that gut lining and supports an optimal microbiome. And also addressing nutrient deficiencies is a big thing too, right? Like low vitamin D levels can play a really big impact on our gut health as well. Looking at the level of inflammation, so testing your inflammatory markers can be really helpful as well. So There is so much to consider for gut health, but it really first depends on addressing that root cause. And that's why in my initial intakes, I spend 75 minutes to 90 minutes helping take that deep dive because I don't want to waste any of my patients' money and time. I really want to make sure that if we're taking this deep dive, they're leaving with an answer on what we think is that root cause. And then we're implementing a plan that's really going to target that cause and that's realistic.
Absolutely. And then another, issue that I think so many people are struggling with, is autoimmune disease.
Hmm.
That's a huge one. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit over the break, and I have very strong feelings now about vaccines. I was very pro-vaccine my entire life, my entire nursing career, always very pro-vaccine. But what a lot of people don't realize about nurses is that we don't get very much education, right? We don't get much education on vaccines at all, other than safe, effective, and necessary. And we kind of just go with that, trusting that everything is as they say it is. Um, but I started to do some research after COVID opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I started looking at, data on vaxxed versus unvaxxed and the instances of disease. And we would see a lot of autoimmune disease among the vaccinated individuals versus really hardly any in the unvaccinated children. So it was really compelling, things like autism and things of that nature as well. I came to find out that the instance of autism among the unvaccinated children was virtually zero, which to me was very compelling. And it just caused me to just have a different stance and really open my eyes to a lot of things. But so I came, this is my personal opinion, and I came to this kind of decision. I mean, it's not based on any data. This is just me just spouting what, anecdotally, I start to feel like, are we all just vaccine injured on some level? And we just never connected the dots. I suffer from autoimmune disease. And as I started looking back, my autoimmune issues started within 6 months of that 3 series Hep B that I got when I entered into healthcare. So now I'm like kind of tracing back everything and wondering, is there a connection there? Will I ever know? Probably not. But that's kind of where I'm at. Just
Hmm.
that's where I'm at. For myself personally, I won't receive another vaccine as long as I live after everything that I have seen over these last 3 to 4 years. But I want to kind of hear your take on everything I just said, and with in particular with the autoimmune disease.
Yeah, no, and first and foremost, Kim, I just want to say I'm sorry that you experienced that as well.
Thank
Because
you.
I completely understand. I have family members who have chronic autoimmune conditions, and I have seen it affect their quality of life. So I'm sorry that it definitely affected your quality of life, especially getting the the Hep B ones that you received. In terms of my approach with vaccines, yes, there is a lot of research out there in terms of how vaccines can be beneficial in terms of eradicating, especially life threatening infections that can definitely affect your quality of life and just even increase your likelihood to actually pass away as well due to those illnesses. However, there is a lot of stuff that we also don't know about vaccines, and that's what makes research really incomplete at this moment as well in certain aspects, is that we still have so much to learn, and that's with science in general. There is always something new to learn each day. And with vaccines, what I often recommend to my patients, if they ever have any questions about if they should take a certain one or not, or even for children, if they should even consider giving their children even vaccines as well, is that, you know what, I want you to dive into your own independent research. I
Right.
want you to look at the research yourself, dive deep, really get an understanding on vaccines and how they can be beneficial or where we need more research about them, and make the informed choice. Because my goal is to just give them that education and let them make that choice on their own.
Right.
And also what works best for them too, right? Because my beliefs are going to be based on my lifestyle and my beliefs when I grew up as well. And that may not fit someone else. So I want them to make that choice for themselves. In terms of autoimmunity, so I do have a clinical focus in autoimmunity in my practice. And I love supporting this population because I think it is an unaddressed population in conventional medical care. I have seen family members struggle with autoimmunity my whole life. And that's what made me motivated to go into this field in the first place, was because I want to make an impact on the people that I care about. And if I'm able to help them feel better, I can help other patients feel better too, because I know that their needs are not getting addressed by the conventional medical care system.
Yeah.
Now, with autoimmunity, that involves an overstimulation of your immune system. So, when your immune system gets overstimulated, it starts attacking its own tissues and cells in the body. Now, what can cause our immune system to be overactivated? That could be an infection, it could be stress, it could be a virus, it could be certain environmental toxins, it could be so many things that could trigger your immune system. And what your goal is with autoimmunity is that you're trying to regulate and modulate your immune system while decreasing that inflammation and oxidative stress that coexist with autoimmunity. Now, there, depending on the type of autoimmune condition, my treatment plan is going to look a little bit different, but it's really revolved around these aspects with immune regulation. And when we think about our immune system, the majority of it lives in our gut. So, as I said, and previously with talking to you, Kim, just about gut health, it is the root for so many health concerns. So, when I'm doing autoimmune, when I'm supporting my patients with autoimmunity, I'm looking into gut health. So, that's number one for sure. I'm looking at just their overall immune system regulation and really just supporting that inflammatory response in the body. I'm reducing oxidative stress. I'm also supporting their mental health as well, because stress and anxiety can overstimulate your immune system. I'm also maybe considering doing like liver support as well, especially if they're overburdened with environmental toxins and exposures, taking into their account their home environment, their work environment. Maybe they had mold exposure, for example, and really just supporting their natural detoxification processes in the body. And with autoimmunity, it is a chronic condition, but when you do implement the right lifestyle and the right treatment approaches that work for you, you can live a happy, healthy life that doesn't include a lot of flare ups.
That's amazing. So much great, incredible information. I'm so glad that you were able to come on, and thank you so much for finding the time to come on and share this amazing information with our listeners. I can't believe we're out of time, but like I told you when we started, it goes by so
Yeah,
quickly.
it's actually, yeah, it went by crazy fast.
It really does. We'll have to have you back on again. I think to touch on some specific issues. You're welcome anytime.
Aw.
I really appreciate you sharing your incredible knowledge and information with our listeners here, Dr. Ashani Patel. Oh, but before we go, tell my listeners, please, how can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on social media. So I have an Instagram. So I have drshanipatel.nd. You can also email me if you have any questions. So my email is, my first name is Shani, last name PATELND @gmail.com. I would be happy to help you with any questions you guys have, just about anything I talked about, gut health in general. Kimberly also mentioned that I am going to be doing some educational courses with the platform as well, which I'm very excited about. So stay tuned for that, but I'll be providing more information there. Yeah. And I'm just looking forward to just providing more knowledge to all you guys about health and wellness.
Amazing. And also she writes blogs, and we publish her
Oh, yeah.
blogs so as well. I almost forgot about that. So if you sign up for our mailing list at Remnant Healthcare, you will also get some blogs from Dr. Patel as well. And they are very informative, incredible information. So don't miss out on that. Dr. Patel, thank you so much. And we will talk to you again soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Kim.
You're so welcome. That is all the time that we have for today, friends. But remember, we are here on the air 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can also catch the encore at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please be sure to tune in and listen to myself and my amazing sister nurses. As we walk you through all of these hot topics, we will empower you with information and education. We will advocate and we will stand in the gap for you, because we are nurses and this is what we do. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. You can find me here every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Until next time, be safe, be well, and God bless. Remember that we are in a war for truth. We are putting out a bounty on the real misinformation and exposing the purveyors of propaganda. No topic is off limits as we shine our lights and expose the darkness.
It's time